Just state your name and your address.
My name is Robin Cash. I live at 1806 Grand Avenue Southeast, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 52403. I noticed that on the agenda that got set out that you all were taking up the master matrix today. So this presentation is being brought to you by the letter M, starting out with matrix. I think most people understand that you all can't really affect the master matrix in any way, and that the placement of operations that depend upon permitting are beyond your control as well, and that most understand that when someone applies for a permit, they can get one for a score that would earn most of us a scolding and a failing grade in school. But what you are able to do, and I hope you will do, is register with the people that are in charge of permitting your strong objection to the way the matrix is set up, and to the dire position it puts you in of being unable to affect the lives of people who live in your county because you're unable to influence or control the placement of CAFOs. So the other M that I want to mention is money. When I was a boy, I was trying to work my way through college by raising hogs. My dad had a farm, and it didn't take me long, even though I was young and naive and not well informed, to see that I was not going to be in control of that operation. And so I was going to have to find some other way to get myself through college. And I found out it's really the money people who control agriculture, and even more so since we turned to our industrialized form of agriculture. When I was trying to get in the business, we had what were then called family farms, and they are a moment of nostalgia now when we speak of them because they scarcely exist. And the CAFOs, for example, are scarcely family farms. They are contracted operations that put the farmer in the position of, well, let's just say that that the operations represent a new form of feudalism. So money would be the second thing that I would mention here. And the other is that this whole issue makes me think of our Constitution. You know, our Constitution embodies the notions of majority rule and minority protections. And that's really important to us. And so here recently, not so long ago, the majority in Liin County were willing to, I think by 70% or more, willing to support a conservation initiative that the supervisors recommended and put on the ballot, which that many people want, and they were willing to pay for the pollution, to clean up the pollution in our waterways, pollution that taxpayers did not create, but which owners of agricultural land did. And so the majority hope to get protection from the pollution that we're suffering from in Iowa all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And the minority that gets protected are a handful of money people who put at their employ some farmers here in Iowa who are just trying to make a living and doing the best they can to do it. So I hope the supervisors will convey to the powers that be that this is not a fair situation. Though it may be legal, it's legal, but it's not right. So I hope you'll convey that to the DNR, which more and more is run by the agriculture department, I understand that. But I hope you'll convey that, and I hope you'll let our local legislative people know your deep feelings about this. And I appreciate your taking time. I may be back for another bite at this apple after I hear what you want to do.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment? The next item on the agenda, discuss the 2019 Master Matrix Construction Evaluation Resolution to allow the Board of Supervisors to evaluate applications for construction permits for large animal confinement operations.
Good morning, Les Beck with Liin County Planning and Development. This is the annual opt-in provision for the Master Matrix, which, as Supervisor Walker mentioned, does allow the county to review and score confinement operations that meet the threshold to put them under the Master Matrix. And so this is an annual requirement. The county needs to send to the DNR sometime prior to the end of the month, an adopted resolution in order to take advantage of this provision.
For sake of clarity, this resolution is essentially signifying that the board would have the ability to use the Master Matrix to score different projects. This is not a resolution that allows us to change in any way the existing Master Matrix.
Correct. Actually, if the board adopts the resolution, then we're obligated, the county is obligated to review any operation that falls under the matrix. You can't pick and choose which ones you would evaluate. Any operation that falls under the matrix, and the county is obligated to go through this process.
I'm sorry, when you say under the matrix, you mean under the threshold or under the umbrella of if they meet the threshold of the Master
Under
Matrix?
the umbrella that if they meet the threshold requiring the matrix.
And you also used the term opt-in. If we didn't pass this, what?
So if the board does not adopt this, then you do not have the ability to review and evaluate those operations that would fall under the umbrella of the matrix. You would not have the ability to send a staff person on site to accompany the DNR on their on-site inspections, and you would not have the ability to appeal any decision to the DNR.
Any questions? I don't have any questions.
And so just to address Mr. Cash's, some of his comments, I believe he talked about registering with the permitting agency, which is the DNR, any objections we have. That's not through this method, right? This is just if a application comes before us and they meet the threshold of the Master Matrix, this allows your office to send staff people out, allows us to review. This is not the resolution spelling out any kind of anything against the application.
Correct.
Okay.
The only thing this does, again, is it gives the county the ability to take part in the matrix process. Any objections or comments on the structure of the matrix itself really is a legislative issue.
Well, normally I'd probably say we could put this on the consent, but I'd have it on the regular agenda on Wednesday to give individuals, if they'd like, more opportunity to come in and comment on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Robin Cash, 1806 Grand Avenue Southeast, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 52403. I appreciated the additional discussion of the Master Matrix that Mr. Beck was able to provide and that you all further illuminated. And I think, as I said earlier, most of us who follow these things appreciate the board's difficulty in being able to address this issue in a way that it needs to be addressed. If you look at a map of where CAFOs are in Iowa, and the number of them keeps expanding. You'll see in the northwest and west part of the state, they are so densely packed, you wonder how human beings can live there, given the odors that emanate, given the prospects of waste running into their waterways, given the dead animals that have to be dealt with some way, given concerns for their health, knowing that a lot of the antibiotic resistance that human beings are now experiencing is a result of overuse of antibiotics with confined animals. So I appreciate the difficulty of your situation. On the other hand, I'll reiterate, I hope that you will find a way to take a stand and to voice that stand with our area legislators, our Liin County legislators, and I think they're in close communications with legislators in Johnson County. There's some commonality of interest there, so I hope that they'll be able to give voice to these concerns. I guess the other thing that I appreciate about your having adopted participating in the Master Matrix program is that this will give your staff entree into inspections and other things. I am also aware that the DNR is short-staffed and that they are unable to carry out inspections in a rigorous manner or with the frequency that might be helpful. And so one of my hopes would be that the board would insist that county staff be able to make more frequent inspections and be able to lodge complaints about the operation of CAFOs in Liin County. We're not as tightly packed as in west and northwest Iowa, but in my opinion, one CAFO is one too many. They are, to me, a malignancy in the industrial agriculture enterprise. And so I hope that you all will find a way to inspect these operations and call attention to misfeasance and malfeasance in the operation. So again, I appreciate your attention. Let me add in closing that over the years I've attended many supervisors meetings, not so many in recent times, but now that you are down to 3, I'm going to be interested in how you all work things out, and I appreciate the difficulty of that, because it is good to be able to talk to colleagues about issues and try to air them before you come into a meeting, so that you get challenged on some of your ideas, and so on. So, and the other thing is that I and the people I'm acquainted with have always been very proud of the board. That we think you all have tried your best to offer good governance in our county. And even when we disagree with your decisions, and there have been more than a few times, we nevertheless appreciate the diligence that you show, and look forward to your doing that in this coming year and in the years ahead. So thank you again.
Thank you.